They told us the rules would keep us safe. No one said what would happen if we broke them. My name is Eli Rourke, and this is the story of how Camp Stillwater ate itself alive. The first sound I ever heard at Camp Stillwater wasn't the laughter of campers or the echo of oars on the lake, it was the scream of something that wasn't quite human. I remember it clearly because I hadn't even unpacked my bags yet. The bus had just dropped us off, kicking up a storm of dust and pine needles. The air smelled like sap, smoke, and secrets. I was 17 that summer, too old to be a camper, too young to be staff, a perfect in-between. They called it the Junior Guide program. I called it a bribe. My mother thought sending me to a nature camp would build character. What it built was fear. Stillwater was famous in the kind of towns where people still whisper. Don't go swimming after dark, they'd say. Don't whistle past the mess hall. Don't call the woods by name. Locals treated the place like a wound that never healed, and the few who'd worked there before never talked about it again. The main cabin sat on the edge of Stillwater Lake, its reflection trembling across the surface like it was afraid of what it might see beneath. I met the others on the porch, 6 of us, all in matching green shirts that smelled faintly of mothballs and dust. There was Lena, the counselor everyone adored, Marcus, who laughed too easily, Sadie, who didn't laugh at all, Jonah, quiet as a ghost, Tara, the camp director's daughter, and me, the outsider. The director, Mr. Bell, came out with a clipboard and a voice that was too calm to trust. "Welcome to Camp Stillwater," he said, smiling like he'd practiced it in a mirror. "We live by a few simple rules here. Follow them, and you'll have the best summer of your lives." Then he read them out loud, 7 rules, carved on a wooden sign behind him. The Camp Stillwater rules. 1. Never go near the lake after midnight. 2. Do not enter cabin 7. 3. Whistling is forbidden after dark. 4. Always answer the bell when it rings. 5. If someone calls your name from the woods, don't respond. 6. Keep the fire burning in the main hall, always. 7. Never, ever break the circle. We laughed at first, thought it was all part of the camp's creepy charm. Lena even joked that Rule 7 sounds like a cult thing. Mr. Bell didn't laugh. He just looked at her and said, "You'll understand soon enough." That first night, we unpacked and settled into our cabins. The air was thick with the kind of silence you only find in deep woods, where every sound feels personal, directed at you. I remember hearing the faint ring of a bell just before midnight. Not loud, not urgent, just expectant. I thought it was part of the initiation. So, I didn't answer. The next morning, they found Jonah standing by the lake, barefoot, his eyes fixed on the water. His lips were blue, and he was humming something I didn't recognize. When we asked him what he was doing, he said he heard someone call his name. Lena said it was probably a prank. Marcus said it was sleepwalking. But Sadie, she didn't say anything. She just stared at the lake, and I swear I saw something ripple beneath the surface, something that didn't look like fish. That day, I noticed something odd. Cabin 7's door was nailed shut. Not locked, nailed. Rusted nails, hammered in deep, like someone wanted to make sure nothing ever came out. A handmade sign above it read, "Out of service." That night, after lights out, Marcus decided to test the rules. He said, "If they don't want us whistling, that's exactly what I'm gonna do." So, he did, 3 sharp notes. Nothing happened for a moment. Then we heard it, a reply. 3 notes, but lower, slower, coming from the woods. He thought it was one of us. We thought it was him. But no one admitted to answering. And when the sound came again, closer this time, I felt my chest tighten. The last note trembled through the air like breath against glass. The next morning, Marcus didn't show up for breakfast. His bed was empty, the sheets damp, footprints leading out toward the trees. Mr. Bell told everyone it was normal for kids to wander off the first week. But no one believed that. Lena cried quietly that night. Sadie drew circles on the cabin floor with chalk. And the bell rang again. I didn't sleep after that. I just watched the window and waited for the bell. When it finally rang again, I saw movement outside, a shadow, long and thin, like someone crawling. Then the whisper came, "Eli." It wasn't loud, but it was familiar. My mother's voice. But my mother was hundreds of miles away. I remembered Rule 5. If someone calls your name from the woods, don't respond. So I didn't. But Sadie did. When she opened the door, a gust of cold air rushed in, blowing out the lantern and scattering the chalk circles she'd drawn. I only saw her face for a second before the dark swallowed her. Her mouth opened in a scream, but the sound never came out. Just silence, and the soft echo of something slithering away into the night. When morning came, the only thing left outside was Sadie's locket, half buried in the dirt. Inside was a small, black stone, smooth, wet, and warm. That was the first night. The first to vanish. The first time the rules felt less like warnings, and more like traps. But I stayed. Because Camp Stillwater doesn't let you leave. Not really. The morning after Sadie disappeared, the camp was quiet. Too quiet. The lake didn't move. The wind didn't blow. Even the birds refused to sing. Mr. Bell called a staff meeting at the mess hall, his voice trembling, his clipboard shaking just enough for me to notice. He said Sadie ran off into the woods after an argument, and the local rangers were searching for her. But there were no rangers. Stillwater was too far from anywhere to have helped that fast. Lena stood up. We need to go after her. Mr. Bell didn't look up from his notes. No one leaves. Camp boundaries. Those are the rules. And that was it. No search party. No police. Just silence, and that awful, unspoken truth that none of us wanted to say out loud: Sadie wasn't coming back. That night, I decided to break a rule. Cabin 7 sat behind the main hall, half hidden by pine trees and overgrowth. The closer I got, the colder the air became, not just chilly, but hollow, like stepping into a memory that didn't belong to you. The door was still nailed shut. The wood was dark, the edges charred as if it had once been on fire. I touched the handle. It was ice cold. Marcus was gone, Sadie was gone, and Jonah hadn't spoken a word since the lake incident. So I went alone, flashlight in hand, trying to be brave enough to ignore the voice in my head that whispered, "Turn back." I pried one of the nails loose with a rock. It came out with a screech that made my teeth ache. The moment it did, something shifted, not around me, but beneath me. The dirt moved. Like something underneath had just woken up. When the last nail came free, the door creaked open an inch, releasing a smell I'll never forget: wet ash, rot, and something metallic, like old blood. Inside, the air was thick. My flashlight beam caught dust swirling in the air, but it wasn't dust, it was ash. The walls were blackened, clawed. There were no beds, no furniture. Just a circle on the floor, carved into the wood and filled with tiny stones. And in the center of that circle, a bell. Not like the one that called us to meals. This one was smaller, older, its surface covered in strange, uneven etchings. I reached out, and for a second, I swear it vibrated before I even touched it, like it knew I was there. I shouldn't have rung it. But I did. The sound didn't echo. It sank. The whole cabin seemed to absorb it. And then came the whisper, not from outside, but from the walls. Dozens of overlapping voices, all whispering the same thing in different tones. Stay in the circle, stay in the circle. My flashlight flickered, and for an instant, I saw shapes pressed into the walls. Faces. Dozens of them, their eyes hollow, mouths open in silent screams. I stumbled backward, tripped over the threshold, and ran until I hit the main path. The bell kept ringing, not in the air, but in my head. When I got back to the cabins, Lena and Tara were waiting for me, pale and shaking. "You were in there, weren't you?" Lena hissed. "Cabin 7. I nodded. I didn't even have to tell her what I'd seen. She already knew. Tara, the director's daughter, looked terrified. "My dad says the cabin is cursed. Every few summers, the circle weakens. That's when things start happening." "What things?" I asked. She didn't answer. She just looked toward the lake. That night, the fire in the main hall went out for the first time. None of us noticed until the bell rang. It was exactly midnight. Rule 6, keep the fire burning in the main hall, always. Mr. Bell burst through the cabin doors, eyes wide, sweat pouring down his face. "No one move. Don't go outside." But the bell rang again, louder this time. Then again. Each ring sounded closer, faster, like something running. Jonah began to hum the same eerie tune he'd hummed by the lake. His eyes rolled back. "It's coming," he whispered. The windows began to frost from the inside. Lena grabbed my arm. "We need to relight the fire." We ran to the hall, the others close behind. The fireplace was cold. Ashes scattered across the floor like gray snow. As we tried to light it, the bell rang again, this time from inside the hall. The small bell from cabin 7 was sitting on the mantel, glowing faintly red. Tara screamed. The air shimmered. For a heartbeat, I saw silhouettes around us, tall, twisted shapes like people drowned in shadow, their limbs too long, their movements jerky. They reached toward the flames as they sputtered to life, retreating when the first spark caught. When the fire roared, the ringing stopped. So did the movement. And then, a voice, clear, female, soft, whispered from behind me. "You broke the circle." I turned, but no one was there. Only my reflection in the glass, and behind it, someone standing over my shoulder, smiling. We didn't sleep that night. None of us did. Mr. Bell locked himself in his office. Jonah just stared out the window. Lena paced. Tara sat by the fire with a notebook, her father's journal. She read aloud. "The Stillwater circle binds them. The fire seals them. The bell calls them. The lake feeds them." She turned the page. The handwriting changed, shakier, desperate. "Do not let the 7th rule break. Never let the circle be opened again. They remember. They always remember." She looked up at me. "My father didn't write this. Someone else did. Decades ago." That's when the bell rang again, just once. And this time, it came from the lake. Cabin 7 was never locked to keep us out. It was locked to keep something in. But once you open a door like that, it never really closes again. By the third night, Camp Stillwater didn't feel like a camp anymore. It felt like a graveyard pretending to be one. The air was heavy with smoke from the relit fire, and every time the bell rang in my head, I felt it echo through my teeth. None of us spoke about Cabin 7. We didn't need to, its door had shut itself again, the nails back in place as if they'd never been removed. Mr. Bell gathered us that morning by the docks, his face pale and damp. "No one near the lake," he said. "No swimming, no walking, no." He didn't finish. A ripple broke the surface, long, slow, deliberate. It wasn't wind. I caught Jonah staring at the water. His reflection was wrong. It wasn't moving with him. When he blinked, it didn't. That afternoon, we heard singing from the lake. Not just one voice, a choir. Soft, broken, humming the same lullaby Jonah had been muttering since the first night. Lena gripped my wrist. "Do you hear that?" Tara nodded. "It's the Stillwater song," Dad said. "The lake sings it when the veil thins." "What veil?" I asked. "The one that keeps them under." I didn't know who "them" was, but as I looked out at the still, gray surface, I felt the answer, like something alive was watching from beneath. Jonah stepped forward, eyes glazed. He whispered something, not to us, but to the water. I caught only part of it. She said my name. Then he walked straight in. We screamed for him to stop, but he didn't. His reflection smiled as he sank beneath the surface, a split second before the real Jonah disappeared. The lake went silent. Not even bubbles. When we told Mr. Bell, he didn't cry. He didn't yell. He just whispered, "It's starting again." Tara brought her father's journal back that night. We huddled around the fire as she turned to a torn page marked with water stains and a rusty fingerprint. The first circle failed when the 7th bell rang. The lake took the marked ones. We tried to contain it, rules, rituals, fire. But it always comes back. It wants what it lost. Lena frowned. What did it lose? Tara shook her head. No one knows. But it says here, when the 7th bell rings again, it'll come to claim the rest. As she said it, the bell rang outside. Once. Then again. And again. We ran out of the hall. The sound wasn't coming from the bell tower, it was coming from the water. 7 rings. The surface began to glow, faint blue ripples spreading outward. The air thickened with fog. Through the mist, a shape appeared, small, pale, hair floating around her like seaweed. A girl, maybe 10 or 11, standing just above the water. Lena whispered, "Sadie," but it wasn't Sadie. The girl opened her mouth, and a stream of water poured out, not words. Her eyes were black and glassy, reflecting the firelight. She raised her hand and pointed straight at me. "You broke the circle." Behind her, figures began to rise from the lake, tall, thin, faceless, their skin rippling like water. They moved toward the shore with impossible slowness, every step sending waves that didn't touch the sand. Mr. Bell appeared from the tree lean, holding a torch. "Back! Get back!" he shouted, waving it wildly. "The fire keeps them away." But the flames flickered. The torch went out. And the girl smiled. The air erupted with the sound of bells, dozens, hundreds, overlapping, until it was impossible to tell where one ended and another began. Tara grabbed my arm, screaming, "The lake feeds them." That's what it meant, the lake feeds on us. Lena fell to her knees, sobbing. "It's taking them all." I dragged her toward the cabins, but the fog followed. The figures didn't move fast, they didn't need to. Every time the bell rang, one of us vanished. No scream, no sound. Just gone. By the time we reached the mess hall, only Lena, Tara, and I were left. Mr. Bell's torch still lay smoldering by the dock. The girl in the lake was gone, but the ripples were spreading wider, reaching the shore. We barricaded the doors. The fire burned low. Tara flipped to the final page of her father's journal, and gasped. The circle binds their hunger to the camp. Without it, Stillwater spreads. There was a date beneath it, 1983. And under that, a signature, Eli Rourke. My blood went cold. That was my name. Lena looked at me. What is this?" "I don't know," I whispered. "That's not possible. I wasn't even born in '83. Tara pointed to the next line, faint and smeared with water. "If this is red again, it means I failed. The circle must be closed." The bell rang once more, deafening, final, like thunder inside my skull. The fire blew out. And in the darkness, the whisper came again, right beside my ear, "Welcome back, Eli." The lake called me by name. But it wasn't my voice it remembered. It was his. The first Eli. The one who started it all. The night the final bell rang, everything changed. The fog didn't roll in this time, it simply appeared. A white wall swallowing the camp whole. The smell of wet pine and ash burned my throat. Tara and I crouched by the dying fire, staring at the last burning log as if it were hope itself. Lena was gone. One moment she was by the door, the next she wasn't. Just a faint indentation in the dust where she'd been kneeling. The bell echoed again. Slow. Measured. 7 times. Each ring seemed to shake something loose in me, a memory that didn't belong to this life. Flashes. Fire. Screams. My own voice shouting, "Keep the circle sealed." And then, water. So much water. Tara grabbed my shoulder, eyes wide. "You remember it, don't you? You've been here before." I wanted to deny it. But I couldn't. The journal had been right. The handwriting wasn't my father's. It was mine, the first me. The one who'd been at Stillwater 40 years earlier, when the camp first opened. Back then, they'd made a pact. 7 counselors. 7 rules. 7 bells to bind the thing in the lake. But one broke the circle, me. Or, him. The more I remembered, the less real the world felt. The fog wasn't just mist anymore, it was memory taking shape. I saw them, shadows of the original 7, standing at the edge of the firelight, faces waterlogged, hands clasped together in prayer. Mr. Bell was among them, his voice low, "You brought it back." Tara backed away. "What do we do?" I stared at the journal, flipping to the final page, a page I hadn't read yet. The only way to end it is to finish what was started. The 7th bell must ring from the lake's heart. Tara's voice cracked. "You can't mean. I have to go in." The fog parted as I stepped outside, the camp silent except for the faint hum of the bell reverberating in my bones. The lake glowed faintly blue, like it was alive and breathing. Each step toward it felt heavier, like gravity was pulling harder here. My reflection moved differently again, slower, older. When I reached the shore, it smiled first. Tara shouted from behind me, "Eli, don't." But I had to. The 7th bell hung around my neck, the one from cabin 7. I gripped it tight, knuckles white. "This ends tonight." The lake responded. A ripple. A sound. The faint outline of the girl, the same ghostly figure who'd pointed at me, rising once more from the center. Her voice was softer now. "You never finished it. I'm finishing it now." She tilted her head. "You can't. You already did." The ground beneath me cracked open, water bubbling up through the soil. Tara screamed as the circle of chalk I'd drawn around the fire earlier began to burn, not with flame, but with light. The symbols carved into cabin 7's floor flared across the camp, pulsing in rhythm with the bell in my hand. Then, I stepped into the lake. The water was ice. Not cold, empty. It wasn't liquid anymore. It was memory, dense and endless. As I sank, I saw them, Marcus, Sadie, Jonah, suspended in the dark, eyes open, mouths whispering bubbles that formed words I couldn't hear. Below them, a massive shadow stirred. The creature wasn't shaped like anything human. It was a collection of faces, hundreds, all fused together, rising and falling like waves. Their mouths opened in unison. "Finish it." I raised the bell, shaking so hard it nearly slipped from my hand. The water pressed against my chest, my skull. My lungs screamed. I rang it once. The sound didn't travel through air, it rippled through time. Every memory I had fractured, the first me, the second, the one who never left. I understood then, every generation that came to Stillwater carried a fragment of the same soul. The circle wasn't just a spell, it was reincarnation. We were all echoes. The faces began to fade, replaced by light, the same light that burned the symbols into the ground above. I felt the lake shudder, the creature thrashing, pulling me deeper. My lungs filled, not with water, but whispers. Stay in the circle, then silence. When I opened my eyes, I was on the shore. The sun was rising for the first time in what felt like years. The fog was gone. The camp looked peaceful. No sign of terror. No bodies. No fire. Only the lake, still, perfect, reflecting the sky like glass. I thought it was over. Then I saw them, new campers, stepping off a bus in the distance. Laughing. Carrying their bags. Mr. Bell waiting to greet them. He looked younger now. The sign behind him freshly painted, "Welcome to Camp Stillwater." And beneath it, carved in wood the Camp Stillwater rules. 1. Never go near the lake after midnight. 2. Do not enter cabin 7. 3. Whistling is forbidden after dark. 4. Always answer the bell when it rings. 5. If someone calls your name from the woods, don't respond. 6. Keep the fire burning in the main hall, always. 7. Never, ever break the circle. The 7th bell hung around my neck, dry, silent, waiting. And when I looked into the lake's reflection, it smiled back. They think Camp Stillwater is a story. A rumor. But it's a promise. The rules were never to protect us. They were to protect them, from us.